It's another Monday, and that means it's time for another Goku Runner Talks podcast. And on this episode, we have Cameron. She is going to be running the Houston Marathon, but she didn't start off running right off the bat. We'll find out all about her history with running, Ironman, and a lot more in this episode. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. All right, we have Cameron on the episode of the Goku Runner Talks podcast today. How are you doing, Cameron?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. How has running been treating you? Are you a full-time? Are you like a runner? You're a little bit of everything. So tell us about your running journey or your athletic journey, and how did that start? Were you like all-star, uh, you know, sport girl in high school, or were you a band nerd like me? I was in band.
I was a band nerd. So, I was such a band I was the band nerd in charge. I was first chair of everything. I was drum
Ah.
major. I did all the things, and I was captain of speech and debate and president of the honor society. I was those things. I was not an athlete. I loathed fitness. I
uh,
got suckered into doing 7th grade cross country, and it was the worst 3 months of my life. Um, Someone else suckered me into a summer swim league before high school, and I counted down the days until it was over. Fitness was not my thing whatsoever. Um, so my journey really started in adulthood. I was a junior in college, and I was babysitting the kids of the owner of a local CrossFit gym.
okay.
And it was the new year, new me. And so I had the lovely freshman 15, maybe 20, maybe 25 that had been put on over the past 3 years. And
Were you
so
still in band? You're still
I
in
was
band in
and
college.
so I actually studied music education. I have a bachelor's and a master's degree in music ed, and I taught middle school bands for 6 years.
Wow.
So, I mean, band was truly my identity for as long as I can remember, and still kind of is.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so I was babysitting a CrossFit gym owner's kids, and I used that to get a discount on a CrossFit membership my junior year of college.
Nice.
I was at the bottom of the barrel, Jeremy. I was the slowest person in class. I was getting capped. The barbell was too much. So I was
Mhm,
using
mhm.
the kids' barbell. Like I was at the absolute bottom of fitness and starting from zero. Everything was scaled, every movement was new. And I fell in love with it. I was showing up to the 5:30 a.m. class for all the way through the end of college, and through student teaching, I committed to it. I moved to Houston and I found a CrossFit gym that I adored. And I was surrounded, I mean, my first friends in Texas. Oh, also, I'm from Colorado. So
Mhm.
I moved from Colorado to Texas. And my first and only friends were those in my CrossFit gym. So I'm
Wow.
surrounded by people that are lifting heavy, running fast, doing cool things, looking good while doing it. And that kind of pushed me into my running journey.
Wow. So you started your fitness journey like in CrossFit, and you didn't really have too much of an athletic background. You said you were, at the bottom of the barrel, and what that takes a lot of guts, I feel like, to go to the gym knowing that you can't do a lot of the movements, but you still went there. How did it how nervous were you that first day when you did go to the first CrossFit class?
Oh my gosh, I was terrified. Are you
Mhm.
familiar with drum corps?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I
It's
had a drum
I
corps
still for the
background.
movies, but
Yeah, sort of. But I had been doing like top tier band. So
okay.
I was at the bottom of athleticism, but at the top of band athleticism in a
Okay.
way.
Okay.
I could do band stuff at a high level, movement wise.
Yeah,
But
you're a
no, I
drum you
was
were a
very
drum
tough.
major, so you were twirling? Do they twirl, or they just
I
kinda
was
have
waving the
the
arms.
wait, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
conducting.
Okay.
Yeah, but then I was marching. I was
Mhm.
marching in a competitive it was a professional level marching group that competed at world championships, and that was a summer commitment.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
every year I would come back tan and looking better than I looked when I went out to it, and then I would put on the college weight, and so this was a way for me to commit to fitness as a lifelong journey as opposed to just a summer one and done.
Mhm.
Um, yes. So, oh shoot, what did you say? So what was the first thing you just asked?
Huh? About your fitness, how did it feel going to that
Oh,
first class when you
yes.
were so nervous?
They had an onboarding program. So I was with a coach
Mhm.
one-on-one for 30 minutes. Jeremy, I wasn't even wearing athletic shorts. So I was wearing these like elephant pants and they ripped down the middle my very first
Oh,
class, like doing some
no.
air squats. I wasn't like I just had no idea what I was doing. And there was this like 20 something, chiseled coach in front of me. And I'm like this
Mhm, mhm.
weak little college girl. Oh gosh, it was horrible. But the staff at that gym was phenomenal. And what they specialized in was really welcoming people of all fitness levels into the gym. So
Yeah.
I was working out next to women my size who were deadlifting 250 like it was no big deal and, doing strict pull-ups and all these cool things. And the coaches just did a phenomenal job of making me feel included, making me feel like I was still achieving the stimulus of the workout. And I am forever in debt to that gym and how accessible they were to people who weren't yet fit. And even just being referred to as an athlete. I'd never been referred to as an athlete, but that kind of got me into that. But when I moved to Houston, I was surrounded by all these cool people. For the first time in my life, I knew someone who had run a marathon. I knew someone who had
Mhm.
done an Ironman. I learned what an ultra was because people at my gym were doing these cool things. And
Man, I need
so,
to join your CrossFit gym.
yeah, oh, it was a great place. And everyone was young and having a great time, and it was just a great crew. We were hanging out together on the weekends, we were getting associated with the same things and having Game of Thrones watch parties, and so I got suckered into my first half marathon, and
Mm,
I that was back in 2019. So it was the October Houston half, and
mhm.
I was super excited, but my training mostly consisted of CrossFit Monday through Friday and
Uh,
a long run on Saturday, and I would add 1 mile at a time, and I was usually running with some of the runners who were at my CrossFit gym on the weekends, and so they were pushing me. I mean, I look back at the data from those runs, and I was basically in, like, fight or flight mode in terms of heart rate. I was
yeah.
pushing it the entire time, did the
Uh-huh.
thing where I got up to 12 miles the week before the
Okay.
race, and then did the Houston half. And then I was at a bar with my CrossFit gym friends, and someone knew the owner or the director of the Houston Marathon. This is
Hmm.
the following week. So I ran the Houston half, and now we're watching the Astros at a bar. I'm with all these fit people. Someone knows the director of the Houston Marathon, and
That's
she's like,
Carly,
Cameron,
right?
I don't even
Carly.
remember at this
That's the
point.
first name. Yeah.
But, my friend Amanda was like, "Hi, I'd like to introduce you to this person, and I need you to sign up for the marathon right now," because we know that the Houston half is kind of like a halfway point in
Mhm,
training to the full,
mhm.
and I was terrified, I was livid, I didn't have, $300 to spare, I was a wee little middle school teacher, but they convinced me to sign up for the 2020 full, and that was my
Wow.
first marathon and the start of my running journey. I feel like I've kept it close. Um, it hasn't always been my primary form of fitness, but I've
Mhm.
I've kept it close since then.
So you did the half marathon with your training, which I feel that's pretty good. You got up to 12 miles, but how did you feel after that race? Did you feel like you ran a good race? Were you strong, or was there any struggle during that half marathon, or your training was appropriate for what you did?
I was also in my young early 20s,
Yeah,
mid
that helps a
20s, so I
lot.
think that helped a little bit. I'm 30 now, so I think I was 25 at the time. Um, so I think that definitely played a part. But no, I pushed so hard. I don't think I had ever pushed so hard in a fitness related thing that I did during that race. And I ran the entire race side by side with someone from my CrossFit gym. And he was as old as my dad. His name was Tony Miller, phenomenal human. And the whole time he's just like, stick with me. You got this. You got
Oh,
this.
wow.
And his words of encouragement. And then as I got about halfway through, being like, I can smell sub two. This is kind of crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. And I ran that race, finished. I think my time was like 157, which was just a dream. I don't think I've
That's
run
excellent. Your
a
first
half that
one.
fast since. Yeah. I did the entire race heel striking.
Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, I was not hitting. I mean, I was in pain. The following
Mm.
week and a half, couldn't walk, needed to sit, everything hurt. It wasn't the way I feel after my races now. And so but yes, I would say all things considered, I pushed really hard, the weather was good, and I felt great, and I felt good enough to be excited enough to wonder what the running possibilities of the future could be.
Yeah, so you were a runner and then you CrossFit. So CrossFit, are you still doing CrossFit now?
Yes and no. So I've been a CrossFit coach since 2020.
Oh,
Um, During the pandemic, I dabbled with Olympic weightlifting as my primary thing, and
yeah.
then I kinda went back to CrossFit for a year or 2, and then about a year and a half ago, I started training for my first half Ironman.
Mhm.
And training for a half Ironman involves a lot of swimming, biking, and running and doesn't leave a lot of room for CrossFit. So the answer is no, I'm not doing any CrossFitting right now. I still coach. I'm in charge of the youth program at
Mm.
Yellow Rose Fitness. So I coach all their littles and run that program, and that just brings me so much joy. But my personal fitness is cardio. I'm doing cardio right now.
Yeah, so you went from like a band because I was in band too in high school, and when you're in band, you're not in PE because band is your PE. At least for me, band was my PE. So we never did, but I never did both. So I never knew the rules of volleyball, of like a lot of sports because I never played it. I was always in
Ditto.
band, and when I grew up, that's when I started finding my love for athletics too, just like you. So that's pretty cool. That now you seem like you're like a well-rounded athlete doing half iron. Have you done a half Ironman yet, or you're still training for that?
Did.
You did it.
I've done 2 half Ironmans, and I have my first full Ironman on the horizon, and I'm ecstatic. I'm loving every second of it. It's so much fun, and it seems kinda crazy to say that I'm doing a half an Ironman, but
Mhm.
honestly, it's been a slow roll, right? Like, I'm
Mhm.
surrounded by all these people doing these cool things, and it's starting to feel commonplace. People
Yeah,
around me are running 100 milers. I'm
yeah.
associated with people doing ultras, and all of a sudden, in the back of my mind, I'm like, "Maybe I could do that." And it was the same thing for this Ironman. I just keep seeing people out of my peripheral doing these awesome things. And it's like, well, hang on, that's not as crazy as it sounds. And of course, everything amps up, right? Like, I didn't just jump right into the half. I did some sprint triathlons. I did train. I think my training
Mhm.
cycles have been really thoughtful. It's not like I jumped right into it. And same with this full Ironman. Like, I've had this on my radar for about a year and a half now. So it's a slow roll, but being surrounded by a community that's fitness
Mhm.
oriented makes fitness seem less impossible.
So that swimming camp way back when you didn't want to join, kind of actually helped you in your Ironman years.
I'm so thankful that I did summer swim league. I was slow as a snail and I didn't love any second of it, but I have decent swim technique now. And
Okay.
that is
Okay.
more than most adults have. Like, I can
Oh yeah.
free stroke, I can breast, I can do all the things. Freestyle.
I was at an
Perfect.
Ironman. It was Ironman half over in Galveston, and there were some people who just go. They just go and do it. Like they think they can swim. I feel like for a half Ironman you should know how to swim. But the person got off the first. I think they start in the middle. Don't they start somewhere like in the middle or somewhere? Or I don't know. But anyway, they didn't get far. They were pulled off like 10 minutes into the race because there was no forward progress on them. So I was like, man, that's a lot of money to spend to not know how to swim during your half Ironman because marathons are expensive, but half
Ironmans are not cheap.
Ironmans, yeah, especially with all the training, the bikes, and everything else. And how did you get into Ironman? Was it just again, it was your community that you saw they were doing it, and you were like, I can do it too.
So my first marathon, the same girl that encouraged me to sign up for that marathon, she also said, "I will train you. I will get you to the end. I will be your coach." And she held true to that promise. She was a phenomenal coach. I definitely was not doing CrossFit while I was training for my
Mhm.
first chevron for those 3 months. And she got to know me really well as an athlete. She had been one of my CrossFit coaches all along, but she's more of an endurance person. She's done several ultras and Ironmans. And so fast forward to last year, I reach out to her because I want to do my second chevron. So I raced chevron in 2024. And going into it, I was like, Amanda, will you please train me again? I loved having you as my coach. She said, absolutely. So I would say in August, I started trying to get a good base in running. I'm enjoying it, following her programming. And then in September, she's like, "Hey, Cam, what are you doing on September 17th?" And I was like, "Oh, nothing." She's like, "Great. Let's do this sprint triathlon together." So there's this awesome triathlon called the Island Girl Triathlon. It's all
Mhm.
women and
Yeah.
it's a super sprint. So I think, don't quote me on this, but it was like a 300-meter swim, it was an 8-mile bike for sure and a 2-mile run. And she's like,
Okay.
Cam, you can wear my tri suit, you can wear my helmet. I have an extra bike, extra shoes. She's been in triathlon for a long time. She owns several bikes. And so I showed up, I wore her gear, I rode her bike, I followed her instructions, and I had so much fun. It was my very first triathlon. I didn't really prepare much for it. I went swimming a couple times at the Y prior. Actually, I don't even think I was at the Y. I was at the Harris County has several pools that are open throughout the summer and you can swim for free. So I was doing
Oh,
laps
wow.
in the community pools and did this race, had a blast. And I think a week later, I signed up for my first half Ironman. I was like, might as well. And so that's kind of the progression. And so I was training for Chevron, which is in January, and
Mhm,
my first half Ironman was in April. So the idea was run this marathon, have a positive race, and then stay in running shape and get better at cycling in time for my April half Ironman.
mhm. And then you were able to do it.
Yeah, I
You
did it. I did my first half Ironman, and it was amazing. It was one of those where you get past the finish line and you have tears in your eyes. You're like, "How is this even possible?" Like, I did the thing that I saw other people do, and, it was really special. Yeah,
so that was your second marathon, and then you went into your first half Ironman, right?
correct.
So let's talk about your first marathon over in Houston. How did that go for you? The training and everything else, and why did you choose Houston?
Well, I chose Houston because it's 10 minutes from my house and I could sleep in my own bed.
Yeah,
And because I mean, I if you're in Houston, you know many people who are running Chevron. It's all around
yeah,
you. And so I think just close proximity and seeing so many people who have had a positive experience. It's wild to me that we have such a high caliber race in our backyards. People
yeah.
come from all over the country, if not the world, to run this race. It's sea level, it's flat, it's cool, and so I've. This is also the only marathon I've ever run. So I have my third coming up in what is it, 12 days,
Oh,
and
you're
it'll be
doing
the
it,
only
you're doing
marathon
it
I've done.
again. You're doing
Yes,
Chevron again.
yes,
Okay, fine.
yes, I'm doing
Man,
Chevron
I hurt
2024.
myself. I hurt my leg,
I
like
heard.
right before New Year's, but and it's actually feeling a lot better. Like I'm supposed to be wearing a what's it called, a boot, but I'm not wearing it, and it feels pretty good. So I'm gonna get another X-ray, and hopefully. I don't know. Hopefully, I'm praying that it's a good X-ray because I'm putting weight on it. I'm walking around, which I probably shouldn't be, and the doctor will probably get mad at me. But I feel pretty good. I feel like if my body allows me to do it, then I feel like that's a good sign. So hopefully, I'll sign up for at least downgrade to the half because I think marathon would probably be dumb of me to push my leg too much because I want
Because
to
you're
run it.
signed up right now, right?
Yeah, I'm signed up, and I
Okay,
want to do it. I don't, and I'm a half marathon. I'm a Houston Marathon ambassador too, so
right.
I wanna do it, but we'll see. We'll see. So, and you're doing
I'm
the
crossing
marathon
my
again.
fingers for you.
What is your goal for the this time?
Oh gosh. So my very first race, I ran a 4:20 and it was
Mhm,
like a 4:17. 4:20 was my goal. I ran it side by side with two other CrossFitters. We did all of our training together and it was mostly just mileage. So we were doing easy mileage
mhm,
and then long runs. And that was the bulk of our training. This
mhm,
last cycle, I felt like I trained a little bit more, I don't want to say professionally, but a little bit more like I knew what I was doing. Amanda
mhm.
still wrote my plan, and there was a lot more hill work, a lot more sprints, a lot more track Tuesdays, a lot more tempo runs, and a little bit more complexity within the plan. And I ran, my goal was sub 4 last year, and I ran a 3:52. And
Wow.
I'm so proud of that time.
Yeah.
I just feel like all the stars aligned, taper went well, nutrition went well. I started with a pacer and then kind of pulled ahead. Um, and once again with other people, like I cannot reiterate enough that I don't feel like these crazy endurance feats and things are possible without community and even just meeting the strangers on the course that helped
Yeah,
get me
yeah.
through last year. Like it's just so special. So this year, I feel like my training has gone really well and I feel fitter than last year. And so my goal is to PR. So I'd like to start out with the 350 pace group and then maybe hang tight with them and reevaluate halfway through and see if we can push
Wow.
it. I think 3:45 would be a dream goal. So,
So that
yeah.
first time, you ran a pretty much negative splits too, because you said you started off with the Pacers and, you went ahead of them, so, uh,
Last year I
yeah,
did. Last year,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
I started with
finally.
the 4-hour Pacers, and I was with them for, like, the first 6 or 7 miles, and I was chatting with this stranger, and we just looked behind us, and the Pacers were back there, and I was like, "How do you feel?" And I was like, "I'm good." He's like, "How do you feel?" I was like, "I'm good," and we just kind of kept that groove that we had and just didn't overthink it.
That's the best. I think those are the best interactions in a race. Whenever you're just running, and then somebody's also I mean, I'm sure you're still suffering running the pace you're running, and if you find comfort in chatting it up, the miles go by so much more faster. It's just a one of the great things about running and marathons, and I
Truly.
love that.
Yeah.
So
No, that same guy at mile, like, 20, he's like, "Alright, let's push it to the end, negative splits." And I was like, "Alright, Jimmy, you go ahead. I'm gonna hang out right here." But
So, what is like the most difficult part of the Houston Marathon for you? And like, what's the your most favorite sections, or do you have any sections or favorite parts of the race from the
oh,
two times you ran it?
I
Is it the
think
belly
leading up
dancers, or like that what's that bridge that you meet halfway?
oh, I know which bridge you're talking about. I
Yeah,
forget what it's called, but I know what is it, mile, like, 14? Mm.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Honestly, I think my favorite part of the race is that back stretch from Memorial down to downtown. I,
Wow.
um, I run that all the time, right? That's a big
Okay.
bulk of my plan. I run from Sabine up to Memorial Park constantly, and so I'm just really familiar with that area. I'm
Yeah,
really
yeah.
familiar with the bridges and the hills and the landmarks, and so most of the race is, I don't wanna say unfamiliar, but less familiar,
Mhm.
and so the miles go by a little bit more quickly. Once I get to that section, I'm very aware of the mileage, right? Not only am I fatigued, but it's fun to me to kind of put a little bow on all the training, and it feels very special for the very last stretch of the race to
Yeah.
be a mirror of all the training that I've done.
Wow, that's interesting because I'd actually say that that is probably most people's most hated part of the race, because it is Allen Parkway. You're going, those underpasses, which is like it sounds good because you're going under and it's fast, and then you got to go back up. And people usually, even when I was faster, I was running like my fastest like 420, 420. Uh, People always walk that section. There's always people walking that section of the race.
There's also always people handing out food and shots and beer, and
Yeah,
I think
you
both
take
races I
part of
did.
that.
Oh, yeah, at least, like, the little beer, like, oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, at
yeah.
that point, you're so thirsty and so miserable, just getting anything in you, and it's fun. It's always fun to be, "Oh, yeah,
And they're tiny beers. Oh, sometimes they have bigger cups, but usually there's like a small
yeah."
little shot of a beer, so I take
It's
them all the
fun.
time.
It's fun. It's fun to be able to say you did that at mile 23 of the Houston Marathon.
So marathon, and then you moved into ultra distance, over at Brazos Bend, right? Was that your first one, or did you do one beforehand?
So I have not done any ultras. Ultras are
Oh,
not in my wheelhouse yet, but
not yet.
my boyfriend does ultras. So
Okay, yeah, yeah,
we met at a CrossFit gym, the same one I mentioned when we came to Houston. And during pandemic, he's kind of transitioned out of CrossFit a little bit sooner than I did. And he's been running for the past 2 years. He's a firefighter. He's so inspiring. And he went, he signed up for Rocky last year, and it was his very first ultra. At the time he signed up, he had never run a marathon distance. He had done a couple halves. Um, and so that was my first time crewing and seeing an ultra. And it was, I mean, you were there. It was wild. It
yeah,
was
yeah.
one of the most incredible experiences ever. And also, I was kind of bringing 10K cheering energy to the ultra scene, and I realized they're very different vibes when it comes to crew. Um, so that was my first ultra experience on the crewing side, and
Mhm.
then Brazos Bend was his second 100-miler attempt, and so I got to crew a second time there. So honestly, I feel like crewing is just as much fun, if not more fun, than running a race.
Oh
Just
yeah,
getting to
yeah.
chat with all the people, see all the
It's a
yeah,
party out there. You can talk to
such a
any
party.
go to move you from tent to tent to tent. People have food too. They'll hand it to you, and everybody's talking about running, and everybody love. If you're a runner, you love talking about running too. So
Yeah,
it's
and
it's
it's
a good
really hard
time.
to watch all these especially the women, because there's not as many women in that sport. Like
Mhm.
all the strong women running by and being like, maybe that could be me. Maybe that could be me. She's
Yeah.
such a badass. I want to do that. And so I don't know if that's, well, I can tell you that's not on my immediate plan, but it is one of those itches in the back of my mind, just wondering what if. So right now, my boyfriend and I, Johnny, we have a rule where we can only one person can do a race in one day, because one person has to be able to pick up the pieces and drive home and,
Mhm.
provide food and make sure we're okay. We've done the same races a couple times, and it never goes well. So,
I was gonna ask, so when you're racing, he's your Sherpa, and when he's racing, you're his Sherpa, huh?
yes, yes.
Yeah, so I think he also does like, not to make this about your boyfriend, but he does do like those crazy, canoeing, right? That's the one that you had him do?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we can talk about the Texas Water Safari all day long. I do not mind at all. So, the Texas Water Safari is a 265-mile canoe race from
Yeah.
San Marcos all the way to Seadrift. So, you're going from San Marcos all the way to the ocean. It's a 100-hour cap, and they have all sorts of vessels from 1 to 6 people. They have to be completely man-powered. So, you have kayaks, you have canoes. There was a stand-up paddleboarder last year. It was a woman. She was incredible. She finished.
Wow.
And it's absolutely grueling. The usually less than 50% of people finish, and it takes a long time. So he entered in the aluminum category, which is an aluminum canoe. It's the
Mhm.
slowest possible vessel. It's the heaviest, and they're traversing over dams and like over rocks, and they have to pull out over. They're constantly carrying the boat, and my role as the captain is to meet them at all the different stops. So there's 10 official checkpoints and probably about 20, 25 places where we actually meet them. And at the spots where we can meet them, we can do handoffs for food and water, of course, and of course nutrition, carbs, salt, all those good things. And it's so much fun. It's basically like camping on the go in the July heat. We love it.
Man, so is it just you crewing, or was there somebody else helping you out, do the drive and
Our
everything?
first year, it was mostly just me. The
Uh,
second year, I had a co-Sherpa. I brought my cousin along, and that went much better because I was also running on no sleep.
yeah.
You're meeting them every couple hours and trying to problem solve, and I mean, it was so much fun. But his very first year doing it, they got capped. They were at 263 miles. I could see them from the finish, Jeremy. I could see them from the finish,
That's
and
tough.
the 100-hour cap came, and they were
Oh,
stuck on this island. The bay was horrendous, and they ended up getting picked up by a rescue boat at hour 100. So I think over that 100 hours, I probably got 8 or 10 hours of sleep, and they probably got 3 or 4 hours of sleep.
wow.
Um, yeah, so we
So,
were all just
they
in it to win
finished.
it.
Did they finish this year?
This year they finished in
They
78
finished.
hours. We are so
Yeah.
proud of them.
Wow. So they killed
Um,
it. That was from
Killed
not from
it.
capping to almost. What's that? 22 hours.
Yeah.
That's
And
pretty good.
Sherpaing is also a skill, right? So, like
Oh
this go
yeah.
around, I knew when I could nap. I knew
Mhm.
when sleep made sense for me. So, I also got more sleep this go around, which is good because you need someone to be able to drive the boat home.
Yeah.
So that was better. So, I probably got like 12 to 15 hours of sleep, but it was only 78 hours. But so much fun.
So if you guys ever want to like experience this, you gotta follow Cameron on Instagram and watch her stories because I was intrigued and I was like, well, what's gonna happen next? Is he gonna keep going on? Even for your boyfriend's 100 miler, when he was doing that, I was following along with your stories and everything.
Really?
So it's really fun. It's really fun to watch. Sometimes people I like them sometimes, but I don't comment all the time. So keep on doing those. And how do you
Oh.
feel about social media and all that? Are you focused on posting stuff, or what do you find yourself sharing on social media?
It is so much fun to post about Johnny, first of all. I think part of it is because I adore him and I'm in love with him and all that stuff, but just, like, seeing all his stuff, it's so much fun blogging, and all of our friends and family are invested in the canoe race, much like you, they're
Mm,
following and want the updates. Um, but my social media experience comes from that of a former teacher. So I
mhm.
taught for 6 years, and part of being a teacher is being really locked down on social media.
Yeah,
So I
you can't
think
post anything.
I Yeah, and so I think I'm no longer a teacher, and I'm now in
Mhm.
the corporate world where it's much more acceptable to have a social media presence.
Mhm.
But that also means I have former students floating around the internet. So my social media presence is still a little locked down, but anyone who's interested, I'm more than happy to share it with you. Um, on my social media, it's a lot of training and a lot of, races and fun wins like that, and then family and our cat.
And your cat. So your training group is simply just your CrossFit group, right? There's you don't join any other running groups out there or like training groups?
I have 2 gals that I've been training well, I guess 3 gals that I've been training with pretty heavily this training cycle, and they're just friends. 2 of them I did meet through that same CrossFit gym. None of us are there anymore, and then another girl I met at the Y swimming. I will join the Striders on occasion.
Mhm.
I enjoy their long run routes, and so I'll see some familiar faces there. Maybe, like, once a month, I'll join them, and then there's a is it Cookie Monsters
Yeah,
Run
yeah, yeah.
Club
They just
on
started.
Wednesdays.
Uh-huh.
I'll join them. I usually get dropped. They're very fast, and so I, bring up the rear
Yeah,
and try
that's
and meet
neat.
them at the finish. But no, I wouldn't say there's any formal groups that I'm a part of. I'm interested in joining the triathlete communities a little bit more. Oh, I will
Yeah.
say the cycling community in Houston is incredibly thick and awesome, and there's tons of humans, and there's some really, really good apps for getting to know other cyclers, and so, cyclists, and
Mhm.
I'll find myself going to the same group rides each week, which is fun.
Oh.
And they've always been really welcoming too.
So where are you cycling over in Houston? Is it the Woodlands area or like you know?
So in the winter, and especially the back half of this marathon training, I would say the past month, I've been doing a lot of my trainer. So I have a trainer in my garage downstairs, but I will join cycling groups out of, let's see, um, all the breweries have cycling groups just
Yeah,
like the run clubs.
running groups.
There's this one called Cactus Cove on Monday nights, I'll join them, that's by TC Jester, and they'll kinda go up north, and they have a pretty good route. Now, in Houston, I'm excuse me, not willing to ride my bike unless I'm with a group, with
Yeah.
lots of lights, safety in
Yeah.
numbers. I'm also
Yeah.
newish to cycling, I'm less than 2 years into it, and so I don't necessarily feel comfortable on the roads, and so I drive my vehicle to the starts of these rides and join
Mm.
groups that way.
So in triathlon, what do you say your best sport is? The run, swim, bike, or run? Which one?
I would say the running. Yeah,
The
I
running.
came from a
Okay.
running background. Um, Cycling is where the bulk of the time is. Like, when you look at an
Yeah.
Ironman, let's say I wanna finish in 14 hours, I'm gonna be in the water for about an hour and a half, swimming
Yeah.
2.4 miles, and then my bike, I'll probably be on the bike for 6 to 7 hours, and
Yeah.
then my marathon best is a 350. I'm not gonna run a 350 after cycling 116 miles. So let's say my marathon is sub 5, right? But the
Yeah.
bulk of
Yeah.
that time is on the bike. And
Yeah.
so the idea is that I get better at the bike.
So which one are you doing? Are you doing Ironman Texas or another one outside of are doing Ironman Texas?
Yes, Ironman, Texas. And so I'll sleep in
Okay.
my own bed, drive up morning of, and race, and then sleep in my own bed.
The party in the Hardy. Last year, I'm sure every year it's super windy, like one direction. One way you're flying, the other way, fight the winds. I think last year there was like 20 to 30-mile-an-hour gust that was killing everybody. But man,
Yes,
it's a fun time. It's a fun time just to be out there spectating, just like you, or being a Sherpa for somebody. Last year I filmed it for one of the doctors out here, and it was a blast, and so much inspiration to get from just watching
right?
them finish. And I'm like, maybe one day I'll do a triathlon again because I suck at swimming. Like swimming, I will
Yeah.
definitely die on the water. but
I mean, it's just like
but
anything though. It's just like running. You
yeah,
start with a
that's true.
5K, then a 10K, then you work your way up. You have a training plan. It's totally possible and you should definitely do it. You have the edge. I can see it. But you're
Yeah.
right.
So
Party on the Hardy. No one comes to Texas as a destination race. It's not a race people have on their dream bucket list with the hills and the wind and the heat.
in the
The heat.
heat, yeah, you never know what's gonna be. I think the my brother did it the first year that they had it, and it was a hot day, and I was we were so tired we didn't even see him at the finish line because we were like, we're too tired to watch him finish now.
Well, being a Sherpa is hard.
Yeah. So, what else after your Ironman are you planning on? Are you doing any other marathons, any other races? Are you going into another sport? Because I feel like you are just moving on to
I'm a
different
dabbler.
sports and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I pop around. So I have 2 kind of bucket list items that I'm gonna check off after my Ironman. So I had a friend, a fit friend, someone from my community reach out and she's like, "Hey, do you wanna run rim to rim with me for the Grand Canyon?" So I'm really excited about that. I'll join her. It'll be my first trail running experience, and
Wow.
that'll be mid-May. I'm ecstatic. We're only going rim to rim, not rim to
Mhm.
rim to rim.
That's good
It's
enough.
about a
That is way better. That's
I
more
think
than
so.
enough. That's more than enough.
But I'm
'Cause
looking forward
after
to
you get
that.
to the we did rim to rim to rim, and after you
You've
get
done
to
it?
the other yeah, yeah, we did rim to rim to rim. We just hiked it. We didn't run it like these people doing it like in 8 hours. We took
Oh my gosh,
I think we took 28 hours. So I mean, we literally
that's
uh
awesome.
but that north rim it's a beast. You're wishing you lived in Colorado again. Or maybe you're used to those the altitude and everything,
Not
but
anymore. I've been
I
here
was
too
taking
long.
like 2 or 3 steps and having to like catch my breath. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, literally just
Oh
going
my
up the north
gosh.
rim. So, but it was fun. You gotta definitely look up every once in a while and just enjoy the views because it's
Yeah.
beautiful, the Grand
So
Canyon.
the girl that I'm doing it with, she did specify, she's like, "Listen, we're gonna stop when we wanna stop. We're gonna take the pictures we wanna take. We're gonna walk when we wanna walk." And so I think it's gonna be a very lax, um, running in air quotes kind of experience. And so I'm super excited.
And then what else? You were gonna say something else. I interrupted you.
Oh, yes. So this was also kind of something that inspired my Ironman goals. So I was in Hawaii 2 years ago, and I was in Hawaii with my family. It was the first week of June. We were staying at a hotel where a bunch of triathletes were staying for
Mhm.
the Ironman Kona, but the 70.3, so the half Ironman.
Okay.
And so surrounding us were these incredible humans doing the
Yeah.
coolest things. And our 3rd day there we can see everyone on their bikes. We can see it was the coolest thing. And so I remember saying, I really, really, really want to do this race. And so I say I'm gonna do it. I haven't put my money on it yet, but I plan on doing the Kona Half Ironman, which is at the end of May this year.
But that's not like a one you have to qualify for. It's just you
No,
could
you
decide
do
to
not
do
have
it.
to
Okay.
qualify.
Okay, man, yeah. I never been to Hawaii, but I'm gonna that would be cool. Like those because I always love watching it on TV. Like they're going through the volcano fields or whatever they call them, and it's so hot and uh that'd be awesome. Hawaii.
I'm excited. Yeah,
So are
I
you
have
go
okay.
ahead. Go ahead,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna say I lucked out because I have a friend of a friend who has a guest house,
Mhm. Oh
and
wow.
he lives along the bike route.
Wow.
So, I will be hopefully staying in his little guest house, and that way my money can go towards the race and not towards accommodations. But
Yeah.
no, I'm nervous about flying with the bike, but
Mhm.
hopefully I'll be in Ironman shape enough to where that'll roll over. My fitness will be enough to get me through that race without too much training. That's more of a fun race. I have
Yeah.
it's like a B race or a C race, not an A race.
So, do you have any aspirations of becoming a triathlon coach or a running coach? Because I feel like you'd be a great coach for because you already do the CrossFit coaching, right? So I feel
Yes.
like a running coach, you're so positive. You're very positive, and I feel like you'd be a great coach too. So, you have any aspirations to do that kind of thing?
Thank you, that's so sweet. I really appreciate that. I don't feel qualified to be a coach for triathlon yet. I'm so new to it. There's so much to
Mhm,
learn. I am extremely passionate about the running side of things, and I do
mhm.
have one athlete that I coach right now,
Yeah.
and I'm really proud of her. She's got her, um, 3rd half marathon coming up, the Woodlands, March
Mhm.
1st, and
Yeah.
so I've been working with her for a little while, and that's been really fun to be a part of her journey. So, yeah, it's more of a as it comes basis. I'm not seeking that out,
So,
but
is that someone you're actually coaching? They're paying you, or is that like you're
yes.
just okay? Nice.
Both. She's a friend and
Okay.
she's paying me. But
Okay.
I'm putting a lot into it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fun and it feels very high stakes. You know, you wanna do a good job. You wanna make sure you push them, but not too much. There's a lot of factors that go into it. And I think the biggest thing that I want to bring to other athletes is like the importance of nutrition and rest.
Mhm,
I'm
mhm,
really, really into fueling during all races of all distances and training. And so, one thing she hears from me all the time is like, carb and sodium intake and the amount of rest she's getting. Like, why didn't you feel good during this run? Was it because of the lack of sleep, or was it because, not enough carbs? Like, let's dive into that. So, I think that's something that can often be overlooked, especially when people grab a plan online. The
mhm.
plans online don't usually include how much to sleep and how much to eat. And so
Yeah.
I'm very into that.
So what other kind of recovery things are you into? Because I do a little bit of cold plunge, a little bit of sauna, do a little bit of everything.
You've been
What do you
rocking
do?
the cold plunge lately.
I have. It's been I got it down to 30, no, 40, 46, and that was too cold. I was like, I'm not. No, it's 43. I was like, nope, this is too cold for me, but 47 is so far so good. And I'm doing it every day. So, have you done a cold plunge yet?
I have done a cold plunge. I've done the one at Lifetime downtown a couple times, and
Okay.
it's brutal. I think definitely having the toe snuggies helps a lot.
Mhm.
It definitely
What's the
makes me
toe
feel
snuggies?
refreshed. Or little toe, it's like a wetsuit for your toes.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
You
Okay.
should get them, it makes a very big difference. I think the first time I did it, I was in the water for 45 seconds, and then I had the little toe koozies, and I was able to make it, like, to 2:30, which was wild. Um, no, I mean, for my personal recovery and rest, now that I'm in my 30s, um, I do feel like making sure I'm prepared before a run is super important. I take the time to stretch. I take the time to wake up a little bit earlier. I used to just wake up and go straight into training. And now I take the time to wake up an hour before training, get something in my system, get some stretch, make sure the body's warmed up. And just awake before I start running. I think that makes a really, really big difference. I also just make sure I'm in tune with the way I feel. If something is sore or if something starts to feel strained, and knowing the difference between soreness and something that's being pushed too hard. And if something ever does start to get to that point, and even before, I know the places that I need to foam roll that can be problem places if I don't take care of them. And so you'll see me foam rolling after hard workouts. And as of my last 3 long runs, I came home, hiked up the stairs, and immediately took a bath, like an Epsom
Mhm,
salt bath. And
mhm.
whether it was placebo or not, I felt better when I got out. And I
Yeah.
definitely plan on doing that after the marathon.
Yeah, that's what I kind of feel like about the cold plunge. I was like, I don't, does it really do anything? But as long as it's like placebo and you feel good about it, I'm gonna keep doing it.
Placebo
So
counts.
yeah, placebo can, and it's very powerful too. It could cure
Oh,
illnesses
yeah.
if you believe in it in enough, you know. So one more question: if you have an athlete, like say your athlete that you're training right now, she lost her mojo and she's trying to, get it back. How would you suggest somebody to get their mojo back? What do you
Do
suggest them
something
doing?
else.
Hmm.
I would tell her, like, especially, like, after a hard race and maybe she's not feeling motivated, maybe the roast didn't go well, maybe she's not excited for the next race, I would say do something else right now. So
Yeah.
the girl I work with now, she's a Pilates instructor, and she really loves doing that, and she, also loves strength training, and so after her last race, for a solid 2 weeks, I said, "No running," and she
Mhm.
didn't. She didn't run for 2 weeks, and then after that 2 weeks was up, she was itching to run a little bit more, and we kinda eased her back into it. But I think everything comes in chapters and cycles. I'm
Mhm.
definitely overkill when it comes to bouncing around different sports. Um, eh, but I think I've been in the endurance space for a minute, and I think I'm gonna stay here. But I think it's important to have other things.
Yeah,
And
me too.
yeah, and not every race is going to be an A race. There's races that are just for fun. There's races that are B or C races. There's races that are a part of a training cycle. You're training for a marathon, you want to get a 20K in, whatever it might be. Every race serves a different purpose. And so if you treat every race like an A race, you're going to have a bad time and you're going to have some
Yeah.
bad races.
Yeah, yep, that's true. Another tip is to get injured. If you get injured, your motivation to do the sport you weren't training very hard for is high. Because I'm like, I want to run so bad now.
Oh
Before I
my
was like,
gosh. Are you doing
I don't
anything
have to
else in the
run.
interim?
I went back to the gym, so I just started going back to the
Okay.
gym again, which I haven't been for a long time. So I felt good because I was telling the story. My girlfriend was hugging on my arm, and she's like, "Oh, Jeremy, I like how your arms are so soft and smaller now." I was like, "Thanks a lot." I was so sad. I was like, a little tear was going down my cheek as she said that. So, yeah, I'm going back to the gym, and it feels good.
That's awesome.
So, where can people find you if they want to find you? Are you on Instagram, Facebook?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and Facebook. If you add me on Facebook, I'll definitely add you back. But my Instagram is Camcoday, CAMCODAY. And yeah, that's the best place to find me.
All right, we have one more thing. I don't know if you watched any of the episodes since you said you know my podcast, but I asked a couple of questions. It's called this or that, so you just have
Okay.
to pick one or the other, and it's pretty easy. You could expound upon it if you want to, on which one you choose. So the first one is the one I always ask. It's hamburgers or pizza. Which would you choose?
Pizza.
Pizza. Which is your favorite pizza locally, or the ones you always go your go-to pizza?
Honestly, I've been making, corn tortilla pizzas. Last night I had 6 corn tortillas with, like, feta and cheese and pepperoni on them, and I will inhale those as a meaty protein dinner. So,
Boom. See, you can even make that into a TikTok, making protein pizza. Man, I'm gonna
so
make.
cool.
I'm gonna steal that idea. You'll see it
So
on
cool.
my
Quesadilla?
Instagram.
Yeah.
The next one is gonna be marathon or Ironman.
Marathon!
Whoa, yeah. Well, there's a marathon in an Ironman, but
No,
uh,
I have to say marathon because I'm tapering for Chevron right now, and it is
yeah.
12 days away, and it's all I can think about, and I'm so excited, and everything I do for the next 12 days has the marathon in mind, and I feel like if I said Ironman, that would be my the right
Bad
spot.
juju. Did you already register for your time slot to pick up your packet? I got that email
Yeah,
today.
I'm going Friday at 5:45, 4:45.
Okay, nice. I'll
Did you?
probably be there. I haven't put my time. I think I need
Last
to
year, it
hopefully.
went so fast.
I know, but it's such an easy process. That's the best thing. You just in and out so fast. Houston Marathon, good job. All right, the next one is going to be Sherpa or Racer.
Sherpa.
Sherpa, Sherpa.
The behind the scenes stories that I have from Sherpaing this Texas water safari are stories that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. I think being a Sherpa is so much fun, and you get to talk to all the humans and meet all the people. I love race day. Race day is fun, and I'm gonna have a blast when I
Mhm,
ultimately race again. But something about being a Sherpa when you're in it for someone else, you
mhm,
kind of get a
mhm.
little bit more hype in a different way, and it's
Yeah.
fun. It's fun to Sherpa.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's tiring, but like you said, it's like you're helping somebody get to their goals, and when they get it, it's like it just almost as good as you getting it
Oh
too.
yeah.
But you don't get the medal, but you get that feeling inside where you're like, "Oh, I'm
Oh
proud of
yeah.
them," you know?
The Texas water safari last year after that horrendous not finish the first year, I definitely cried when they crossed the finish line.
So
There
would
were
you
happy
ever
tears.
do the Texas safari yourself? Water safari?
This is a conversation Johnny and I have often, and
As a
the answer
couple?
is yes, because how could it not be yes? Right? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like all these things just lead to another, right? And
Mhm.
now, right now, I have absolutely 0 desire, and it's not something that I wanna do. I paddled 6 miles with him once a few months ago, and it was hard and heavy, and I did not enjoy it, but at the same time, I see these badass women crossing the finish line with, in a race that's 98% men, and it's like, that is incredible, and I would love to be someone that can inspire other women to do a sport that's geared towards men, and, I mean, like, they inspired me. So, I mean, in that sense, I feel like I have to do it. So, who knows? But it's not on the short plan, that's in a long plan.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being on the podcast and keep on doing what you are doing. You are inspiring more people than you know, even inspiring me to want to do the water canoe thing that Johnny's doing because I was like, that's
Oh, you
pretty cool.
should.
So keep on posting, keep on doing that. And is there anything else you want to tell anybody on the podcast to do a final word, last final word?
Yes, I need everyone to eat more sugar and have more sodium during their runs.
There you go. There you go. All right. Thanks so much, Cameron, for being on the podcast. I appreciate you, and we wish you a great day and good luck on your Chevron Marathon. If I don't run it, make sure to get that medal for me. Okay.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. Thank you for having me.
That's me for this episode of the Goku Talks podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed Cameron. Her story was great. She started off as a band nerd just like me and became a Ironman. Well, soon to become Ironman. She just signed up for the Ironman in Hawaii, the half Ironman, and I'm sure she'll be going a long way in her journey to fitness. So don't forget, if you guys want to follow these episodes, every Monday we have a new podcast episode. And also go ahead and like, subscribe, comment, do all those things so that my podcast can be seen by many more people. And I hope you guys have a great day. And if you're running the Houston Marathon, good luck running a few miles from me, because I won't be out there, but I will be out there cheering you guys on. See you guys next Monday. Peace out.